Yesterday and tomorrow, call it Darlington, South Carolina. Today, it's Titletown, USA. The final stop of the IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Calendar will see 4 World Championships decided. In Top Fuel, Doug Herbert goes for his 4th in a row. To do so, he'll have to get around one of the legends of the sport, Shirley Muldowney. Today, 4-time Pro Modified titleist Scotty Cannon will try to regain his crown from the man who turned the wrenches for last year's champion, crew chief turned racer Shannon Jenkins. Today, the Pro Stock crown could be decided between 2 men who have yet to win a race this year. From West Virginia, John Yoke, and from New York, John Nobile. Today, in Alcohol Funny Car, the formerly unbeatable Jimmy Rector has cause for concern. His luck has gone stone cold, while that of his title rival Vaughn Smith is hot as a nuclear furnace. 4 championships await today in Darlington, South Carolina. On a beautiful fall day in Darlington, South Carolina, welcome to the IHRA Snap-on Tools 1996 Finals, the end of the trail for the 1996 championship campaign. Down on the starting line, preparations underway for the most dramatic championship title fight in recent memory on the IHRA trail. The track cannot be smooth or sticky enough for these racers. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha, along with ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones. Welcome to DID. Now, normally we'd show you some action over on the drag strip before coming on camera to say hello. But, Ted, the way these 4 World Championships are coming down to the final event of the year, we have to set the stage first.
Well, we do, Bob, because what may happen is some of those World Championships, for instance, in Pro Modified with Shannon Jenkins and Scotty Cannon, may go to the final run of the day. Others may be decided earlier on in early eliminations. In Pro Stock, Jerry Yeoman didn't even qualify. That's down to a 3-man race. So the best is yet to come.
No question about it, and no better way to show you than to take a look at the points, Ted.
Especially in Top Fuel. Now, Shirley Muldowney appears to have the lead, but that's deceiving. There's a 471-point bonus. Shirley is actually in 2nd place because of that perfect attendance bonus. John Yoke has the lead. All the other guys are playing chase. As long as John matches them, he'll be the world champion. Same thing with Scotty Cannon. He has the lead. Shannon Jenkins has to score more points than Scotty, who has already set a record. And Jimmy Rector, watch out now. He has been cold the last half of the season. Vaughn Smith could do it.
This is going to be fun. And keep in mind, we also have a race to win. Let's start things off with quarterfinals of Top Fuel. Here's Rhonda Hartman, one of the top drivers in the class last year. She's had no luck at all and no finals in 1996. She could get well right now against this guy, David Bieneman, runner-up to Shirley Muldowney at Scribner, Nebraska earlier this year. This is the middle of the order, number 4 qualifier against number 5.
Watch for a 4-second run. They were running 4s in qualifying earlier here, Bob, so you could easily see a 4-second run, especially out of Bieneman, who's been running strong.
Rhonda Hartman with the advantage of half track and a huge engine explosion. She keeps it off the right side guardrail, but that was huge for Rhonda Hartman.
Actually, a great driving job to keep her cool and stop the car there after that engine explosion.
Boy, and doesn't that just sum up her entire season? One weekend, she went through 4 engines, as you see Rhonda getting out quickly, wanting to know what happened behind her.
Well, she's not sure what's going on back there. Sometimes there's a fire. Speaking of fire, let's look at the replay. Now, that's fire, Bob.
Oh, my. Right out the manifold, parts spewing everywhere. There goes the blower belt, but the parachute came out, and that helped keep the car stabilized and slowing. This ought to be spectacular from our finish line camera. You bet.
She was on fire at the finish line.
There you see Rhonda on the ground, along with her husband, John, with his back to the camera, and the PTS track crew. It appears that she is okay, but what a shock. And look at the extent of the damage.
That was a dramatic engine explosion. You can see the parts as the PTS crew takes them off the engine. Let's look one more time. It actually occurred prior to the finish line.
A cough and then a huge explosion. Now there's Shirley Muldowney getting in. She'll be in the next pair. Let's join Brett Kepner with Rhonda.
Has anybody bothered to tell you that you won?
No, I asked that if we won. Nobody told me.
I thought a tire blew. I couldn't steer the car. As soon as it blew, it just pieces flew everywhere. I've never exploded an engine that way. And
what'd you get hit in the leg? Just on the side of the cage there?
I got hit in the leg. No, some pieces flew up and
so the pieces were going faster than you?
Yeah, they were flying in front of me, and I honestly didn't know what was happening. I just couldn't steer. I was trying to get the thing stopped.
Well, that was a close moment. Now, back to this business of the World Championship. There is Shirley Muldowney, holder of 4 Top Fuel World Championships from various sanctioning bodies. Her opponent in this first round, Bruce Litton, no pushover. He made it to the finals of the Spring Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee. Shirley leads in the points, but as Ted mentioned, she has to run the table because that guy, Doug Herbert, has a 471-point bonus coming his way for having run every race of the season. Shirley did not attend early in the year. Listen to her last 5 results. 3 victories, 2 runner-up finishes. She is the queen of Top Fuel.
Herbert has managed to put her out there first, too. A lot of the fans may not be aware, but the low qualifier, Doug qualified number 2, Shirley qualified number 3, determines when he races. He said, I want to go last. Now that puts the pressure on Shirley Muldowney, and she's in trouble right off the line. Bruce Litton, a whole shot on Muldowney. Bruce Litton upsets Shirley Muldowney. The crew walks away dejectedly. That gives the World Championship to Doug Herbert.
And you saw Herbert's crew walking to the line to shake hands with Shirley's husband and crew chief Ron Tobler and the crew. Bruce Litton, with that victory, has turned the World Championship over to Doug Herbert for the 4th year. There is Herbert in his car. He will be coming to the line in the next pair.
Meanwhile, on the replay, wheels up start for Bruce Litton as he found the traction to his liking, put a hole shot on Muldowney, something that doesn't happen very often, and was out in front for the entire race. Shirley could not get back in it all the way to the top end. It was Litton wire to wire. We see right here by about 10 feet.
There Shirley and husband Ron walk away. What an emotional moment for them. The attendance bonus is now irrelevant. Shirley needed to run the table. It will not happen. Now it is Doug Herbert's turn. And this was Doug Herbert during last night's Night of Fire final round qualifying. In the left lane, qualifying with Jim Bailey. Bailey gets out of it, and watch what happens to Herbert.
Herbert actually got out of it and then back in it, and a tremendous engine explosion at about the 8th mile. Sparks flying. He had some serious engine damage. Had to work most of the night to get ready for this race.
And this is Doug Herbert against Luigi Novelli.
Herbert actually slowed to a 9 flat. Novelli threw away a 5:21 on a red light start. Herbert moves to round number 2.
And saves the parts with that easy pass. Now he can concentrate on the business of winning the race. Here's another look at the red light in the right lane. Novelli too quick.
Well, you can see he was trying to put a hole shot on Herbert. That's what he needed to do. Wheels up, by the way. That may have been a vertical red light as he actually lifted the tires out of that beam.
After the run, a hug from Shirley Muldowney for the world champ, who spoke with Brett Kepner.
You can't ask for any more sportsmanship than that, can
you? No way. She's a pro. There's no doubt about it. I'll tell you, we're so happy. It's unbelievable. I don't know. Luigi got a little bit of ants in his pants. I guess I made up for that 408 that he had on me a while back.
That's what it was.
Oh, boy. I'll tell you, we're excited for Snap-on Tools and Doug Herbert Performance Parts. We can't be happier. My whole crew, guys, Brad and Pete and everybody, even though Brissette's not here, he gives us a little moral support.
How'd you sleep last night?
Didn't sleep too good.
Not good. You can get some sleep now, buddy.
Well, I tell you what, championships are great, but when you beat legends en route to those championships, like Doug Herbert just did, beating Shirley Muldowney, they are extra sweet. Final pair of the final round. It's going to be an easy pass for Danny Dunn as Jim Bailey goes up in smoke.
Boy, did he boil the highs. Way too much clutch. Danny Dunn, by the way, off the starting line first by a bunch in a 5 flat ET.
Keep your eye on Dunn. He was the #1 qualifier. He'll meet Rhonda if she can be ready, and Doug Herbert will take on Bruce Litton. Our Speed World coverage of these Snap-on Finals is brought to you by Precision Gear. When your rear end is on the line, depend on Precision Gear. We'll be back. The Pro Mods are in the lanes. There is Scotty Cannon. He'll be behind the wheel of a real machine in a moment. Welcome back to Darlington International Dragway. Bob Barsha and Ted Jones with you for the 1996 Snap-on Finals on the IHRA Championship Trail. Here's a look at our post-time weather conditions. A nice 69 degrees, good high barometric pressure, very low humidity. Great weather for making horsepower. We move to the Pro Modified category, and we have another great story. There is Shannon Jenkins, who wrenched Tommy Mooney to the World Championship last year. Coming into final round qualifying on Saturday night, Jenkins in the right lane was not qualified for this race in which he hopes to win the World Championship.
Shannon Jenkins did get in, though, and this man did not have the World Championship lock, Scotty Cannon. He was forced to stand by in the first round and see Jenkins get a gimme from his teammate, Tommy Mooney, the defending world champion in Pro Modified.
Good launches for both drivers, especially good for Shannon Jenkins, who ran out the string at 6:53 with a 207.85 miles an hour and advanced to the next round. Now, in contrast to Shannon Jenkins' problems getting into the field with that last-ditch qualifying effort, Scotty Cannon took advantage of those great conditions on Saturday night to do something very special.
Very, very special. First of all, another 100 points to make it even more difficult for Shannon Jenkins. He ran, are you ready? 6.40. Absolutely unheard of, but the air was perfect, and Scotty was too.
Now in the first round, up against Mike Janis from Lancaster, New York, Scotty Cannon needed to advance some rounds, and he did.
Remember, it's not a world record until he backs it up. He doesn't on this pass. 6:51, 213 does not back up that world record run.
Yeah, hey, need official. Well, Hugh, get out of here. They got to follow you down there. They can check you up there, your regular check. They're going to check anything else. Tell them to follow you if they want to see it.
What in the world's going on up there?
Well, Shannon Jenkins, he protested us on nitrous and fuel, but just makes it a good day. I'm ready now.
Well, as you can see, no love lost there. It's not only a psychological war, however, it's also a strategic one. Here's Brett Kepner with more.
Well, gentlemen, the Snap-on Tools World Finals may be an inaugural event, but we've been to Darlington in the past in the fall, and it has been a world record-setting racetrack. It was, again, in every conceivable respect. And keep in mind, with the World Championships on tap that we've got, everything is up for grabs. Pro Modified was the quickest field in history by 5 full hundredths of a second. And Scotty Cannon, of course, the man leading points, went 6.40 seconds, the quickest run in history to lead the field. But it's not just Cannon and his one-round advantage over Shannon Jenkins that's creating controversy. It's the other car, Hugh Scott. You might remember back at the Winter Nationals, Cannon announced a partnership with Hugh Scott, a two-car team this year to help him win the World Championship. He decided to dissolve that partnership before eliminations ever started at that first race. But he's brought him back in, as he said after the first round, as a hitman. Obviously, Hugh Scott's job is to do as much damage as possible in eliminations to Shannon Jenkins so that Cannon won't have to face that challenge if it goes all the way to the final round. But one thing's for sure, if Hugh Scott lines up in the second round with Shannon Jenkins, Hugh Scott's here on a mission. His mission, to give Scotty as much cushion as possible, and they work the ladder perfectly. That meeting will happen.
You got it, Brett. I don't know how they did it, but Hugh Scott will meet Shannon Jenkins later in this round. First, here's Lewis Burris in that beautifully turned out red, white, and blue Chevy Corvette up against Dale Brinsfield.
Dale Brinsfield has come on strong at the end of the year, qualified number 4, but Lewis Burris strapped a light on Brinsfield, a 463 coupled with a 663 elapsed time, moves him into the semifinal round.
So the Captain America Corvette advances. Now to our next pair. Brad Jeter from Greenville, South Carolina in another Corvette against Billy Harper from Paducah, Kentucky.
Another strong runner. Jeter, qualified number 2, picked up a win this year and 2 runner-up finishes. He has to be dealt with. A 652. He's in the ball game.
In fact, Brad Jeter is 3rd in the points right now, but a forgotten man in this battle between Shannon Jenkins right there and Scotty Cannon, or in this case, Cannon's alter ego, evil twin if you like. Hugh Scott rolls in out of Red Bay, Alabama.
Hugh Scott, the hitman, incidentally, that is Scotty's old car repainted, and Scotty will be ready to run right behind Hugh Scott so he can see what happens here.
Girlfriend Amanda with final words, but I tell you what, Scotty Cannon is one racer you do not need to pump up. Maybe she's trying to get him to calm down. Anyway, this race will mean an awful lot to Scotty Cannon. They are away, and almost identical reaction times, 1/1000th of a second apart.
Wow, what a race this is. Shannon Jenkins pulls it out of 660. Listen to this, to a losing 661. Scott almost did his job and knocked Shannon out.
I'd you like to be the guy who had to go over to Scotty Cannon, lean in and say, well, Scotty, he was gone. Scotty rolling in. Let's take another look. Great side-by-side drag race.
We have to look at that. Don't sell Hugh Scott short. He qualified number 3, motorsports fans. better than Shannon Jenkins. Remember, he barely got into this thing. Let's go down the top end for more with Brett Kepner on this absolutely incredible photo finish.
That was one of the single most intense drag races of the year. If only people knew how much intensity was up there.
Oh, man. I don't know if I can get through today.
660 to 661. It was 12 thousandths at the finish line, but you got past the second most important hurdle of this whole thing.
Oh, that's true very much, but we hurt the motor. We got to get back.
You got more.
Oh, yeah, we got one. Thank you.
Well, it better be a good one. They need a silver bullet when you're up against the killer Red Mater. Now all the pressure shifts to this man, Scotty Cannon. There you see him in his office as the crew makes final preparations, and he's going up against the number 5 guy in points, Carl Moyer. No pushover, Ted.
No, Carl Moyer, the Chevrolet dealer from Ankeny, Iowa, could very easily defeat Scotty. He had a runner-up finish at Budds Creek, Maryland earlier this year, so he knows how to go down to the finals. Qualified number 8 at this event. Has that famous Z38, as he calls it, 1938 Chevrolet over there in the far lane.
Supercharged machine for Scotty Cannon. Nitrous boosted, normally aspirated mill for Carl Moyer.
And Moyer puts a gate job on Scotty Cannon. A 4:67 reaction time. Cannon could be in trouble. Does he have a 40 in it? Yeah, Scotty Cannon's crew celebrate because look at the ET. 6:48 for Scotty Cannon. Statement said.
Here's another look from on board.
Scotty Cannon smoothly through the gears as he shifts the Linco transmission and backs up that world record at depth. Now the pressure is really on Shannon Jenkins. The crew sees the scoreboard and reacts to that 6:48.
And by virtue of that quicker ET, Scotty Cannon will have lane choice in his semifinal matchup with Louis Burris. Brad Jeter will decide which lane Shannon Jenkins starts in. John Noble's son performing important mechanical chores. Pro Stock will be up when we return. Welcome back to Darlington International Dragway, and we take up another world championship, this one in Pro Stock. First, here's Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, ever since the beginning of this event, the protests have been flying. Certainly, Scotty Cannon has been under his fair share of scrutiny this weekend, and for obvious reasons. Everybody's trying anything they can to win this world championship. Robert Leonard is pretty much Mr. Everything at IHRA, especially in the tech department. Robert, as we go into the semis, what's going on between Hugh Scott and Scotty Cannon's cars right now?
Well, Hugh Scott lost the last round. Both cars were under protest. Hugh lost last round. We have had the car disassembled. They just finished checking the car. The car is a legal car. At this time, Cannon's car is still under protest, and as soon as he either wins or loses, we'll have this car disassembled.
Were the protests specific?
They were just, they protest for nitrous.
Okay, so far we haven't found anything on Hugh Scott's car, and Cannon's car has passed the initial check then.
It has. Both cars were checked into staging lanes every round for fuel and a visual on the nitrous. Hugh's car, we've had it disassembled, the head's off, the engine's coming out of the car. It's been checked over completely. There's no nitrous on the car.
Well, there is the car in question. Hugh Scott's machine, serviced by Scotty Cannon's crew. Give these guys credit. They are the best in the business with those alcohol supercharged pro modifieds. Now let's turn to Pro Stock. Final round qualifying, Jerry Yeoman and Floyd Cheek.
If Yeoman is going to stay in this points battle, he needed to qualify, and Yeoman did not qualify. Meanwhile, Floyd Cheek set a world record, 205 miles per hour in Pro Stock.
Man, we have had some action this weekend at Darlington. With Yeoman, the number 2 man in points out, that opens the door for this guy, number 3 in points, John Noble. He may have a shot at this team. Crewman standing by, points leader John Yoke's Ford Thunderbird. We'll see that in a little bit. First, here is Carlton Phillips against John Noble.
Well, Phillips has won one national event this year. That's more than Noble can lay claim to. But John Noble is first off the starting line. Wire-to-wire win, 6:79. He's very much alive in that points chase.
Oh, the fiery little driver from Melville, New York. That's on the North Shore of Long Island, not far outside New York City. Advances to the next round, carrying those wheels off the pad in the far lane. Blistering, straight as an arrow run for John Noble. He's at the big end with Brett.
Who is it? Yoke's going now? Dear God, if there's a God, he's my friend, but I want him to lose right now. If there's a God up there.
Well, all theological references aside, here comes the points leader, John Yoke, about to make or break his buddy John Noble's weekend. There's Dad Bob looking on.
And he'll be running Greg Hankinson, the number 12 qualifier. You can't sell any of these guys short. Pro stock is without question the most competitive drag racing on the face of the planet.
Yoke on his way to a win.
Yes, you got him. Great job, buddy. Great job. There's my boy. Well, he's world champ. He's world champ. He deserves it.
I couldn't have put it better. John Yoke, with that round victory, can now not be touched. John Noble could move up to second in points, but that remains to be seen. Here's a look at the launch for John Yoke.
Oh, they had that car dialed in absolutely perfectly for John Yoke, wire to wire all the way down to win the World Championship for 1996.
Ladies and gentlemen, although he hasn't won a race this year yet, he is the world champion. You had John Noble here losing his mind.
Yeah, buddy.
I won the first round. So I guess that's on number 2.
Yeah.
I hate it. I mean, John's such a good guy, you know, but man, it feels good. It's a big weight off my shoulder.
I just told them they were all looking at me, and I just said, if there's a God, I want him to lose. He's my friend. But if he wins, then he's won.
That's right. Good job.
Good deal.
The classic Ford and Chevy battle, like I said, it's got to feel weird having not yet won a race this year. Only 3 other people in drag racing history have ever done this.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's really like something's missing. We're sure going to take it any way we can, but I mean, we want to race bad, so hopefully this is it.
Well, the 673 might be a horrible indicator of things to come for everybody else. Keep it up.
I hope so. Thank you.
Well, you heard right from Brett Kepner. No victories for John Yoke, but he's been in the semis 7 times in 10 races. On to quarterfinal action in pro stock. Ed Makachek against Angelo Alesi.
Alesi, who won the Scribner, Nebraska event, is late off the starting line. Makachek has him in trouble with a 488 reaction time and finishes him off with a 678.
That moves Makachek into the next round. Now here comes our top qualifier.
Richie Stevens qualified number 1, and another story here. During the All-Pro Auto Parts Night of Fire, Robert Patrick is in the far lane. Watch this run. You'll see a world elapsed time record. Robert Patrick 671 with a 2. That 2 is significant. Richie Stevens came up next in the same lane, over there in that far lane, in the same atmospheric conditions, ran down through there in Roy Hill's car, 671 with a 1. He owns the world record.
And now here is Richie Stevens in that charmed far lane, going up against a former world champion, Doug Kirk.
Didn't bother Stevens a bit. A 456 reaction time polished him off easily. 676. He'll move on into the semifinal round. Brett Kepner was on top end to talk to our boy wonder.
He's the new world record holder, and now he's in the semifinals. Nice to be back there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I haven't talked to you since Bristol. It feels damn good to be here again.
I want to ask you about the qualifying run, though. The 671, the 672 that set the record the first time was amazing enough. Did you really think you could go out there and knock Patrick down with another great one?
I thought, I mean, the crew's been working hard this whole weekend, and this car has been unbelievable. But I thought so. I mean, I was ready to come back after, set the record again. I was ready to take it back again.
Well, when you've got Roy Hill's crew preparing your car, you can talk that way. Now here's the track fact.
We always talk about how the weather affects racers and their machines, but obviously the weather affects any racing event as well, especially with impending weather playing a pivotal role on whether or not one can be completed. Well, the International Hot Rod Association and National Race Director Robert Leonard no longer just go outside and look at the sky or call the National Weather Service. They've gone high-tech. They're connected to the Global Positioning Satellite System, and this little piece of equipment is indeed now one of the most important they use at any event. It's a weather monitor that indeed gives them information for any single small square area on the planet. They can zoom down into 1/2 of one county and find out where the weather is, how fast it's coming, what it's going to do, and what it's already done. As a matter of fact, this event has already saved them in a couple of instances, including the most recent Fall Nationals, where weather forecasts all over the area spelled nothing but doom, but there was a little tiny gap visible on this radar system that was heading right for the track. It allowed them to keep running and get in a qualifying session that otherwise would have been outright canceled. That's the kind of high-tech advantage they now have in just running the events. And one thing's for sure, we can find out how pretty this event is going to continue to be.
Absolutely beautiful day in Darlington. Unfortunately, my voice not in great shape. I apologize for that. Bob Barshin, Ted Jones with you for this final stop on the IHRA Trail in 1996. We have World Championships still to decide. There's Jimmy Rector, absolutely bulletproof in the early part of this season. There is Mark Thomas, who was bulletproof en route to 4 Alcohol Funny Car World Championships. But Rector's been having his problems of late, and here in the first round of Alcohol Funny Car, those problems continue.
Mark Thomas cannot possibly win the World Championship, and he would like to stop Rector just to prove he's still in the ball game, and he's just about to do it. Rector broke. You can see the smoke from the car. Mark Thomas with a 6:25. Jimmy Rector is out of it, and the door is wide open for Vaughn Smith. We've got to look at that run one more time. As you see Rector leave the line there at about the 300-foot mark. He's out in front at the 8th mile, still in front of Mark Thomas. Suddenly, something goes away on Jimmy Rector's car. Mark Thomas zips to the win.
Well, it's not over. That's the only good thing I can say.
No, it opened the door, didn't it? That thing was flying. I don't know, just laid over again. I mean, every pass, car would run a 90 every pass I've been down, but it won't make it to the finish line.
I know better than to ask you what the problem is, because if you knew, it wouldn't have done it.
No, I mean, that's the second motor, and, you know, I don't know. I mean, Rick Hickman's been over all weekend. I don't know.
Well, there you see the cleanup under Jimmy Rector's car, but they cannot clean up his championship chances. Meanwhile, the guy in the near lane, Vaughn Smith, has been on fire lately. Here's his first round matchup with Mike Hudson.
Pressure is on Vaughn Smith. He leaves Hudson. Red lights rolled through the beams. Actually, Vaughn Smith is still alive and has a shot at this championship. Nice run, 6 seconds flat, 234.
Here's another look at the pass. Hudson barely stopped at the staging line en route to that red light. There you see it in the right lane, no question about it. And that is a big break for Vaughn Smith. Here's Brett.
1 down, 2 to go.
Yeah, I know. I tell you what, it'd been easier if Jimmy had won the round. I mean, you had time to sit with the oil, think about it. It was a terrible pass. And got lucky, you know, Mike messed up, and we go to the next round.
Well, it wasn't a great reaction time, but it was a pretty solid pass by Vaughn Smith, and he needed it. Quarterfinal action now. Mert Littlefield in the near lane against Bruce Peterson.
Littlefield qualified number 2. This guy's really been hot as of late on the IHRA trail, and he doesn't cool off a bit. Nearly identical reaction times, but Littlefield with a 6:09.92, Peterson 6:09.7. Littlefield won it off the starting line.
Now here's a guy who started off the season like gangbusters. Jim Lape took the first 4 poles of the year, but then he fell off on performance. Now he's back, the number 3 qualifier against Butch Kernodle.
And Kernodle almost polished him off, except that Jim Lape turned in a 5:97 as he kisses the 5-second barrier.
Now in the near lane, the 4-time world champ Mark Thomas has already beaten Jimmy Rector. Now he has Scott Winnie.
Can Mark Thomas go into the final right here? He can, and Scott Winnie keeps braking like that. He actually put a gate job on Thomas, but Thomas motors through with a 6:11, 229. He'll move into the semifinals.
Wouldn't it be something if Mark Thomas, who beat Rector, goes up against Vaughn Smith? Now here is Vaughn Smith, his quarterfinal matchup with Bobby Balcom. Jimmy Rector looking on, hoping someone can take out Smith.
The powerless feeling Jimmy Rector must have. He's nothing there he can do except just watch. Listen to the RPMs. They rev him high. First off the starting line will be Vaughn Smith. He's on a run. Bobby Balcom breaks. Vaughn Smith goes into the semifinals, and Jimmy Rector stands there disgusted. Nothing he can do about it. Smith with a 6:03.
Well, it's still not over. Here's another look. Great launch for Vaughn Smith, carrying those front wheels. A lot of chatter coming off the line there. But a good straight run. So it'll be Smith and Thomas in one half of the bracket, Lape and Littlefield in the other. Now let's update Top Fuel. Here's Brett.
Even looking at the replay, it still remains one of the most destructive incidents of the year in Top Fuel with Rhonda Harbin in the opening round, and here's what happened. The gear that is located at the front of the crankshaft snout actually drives the camshaft gear. That broke. That's all that we needed for everything to lock up. And when the crankshaft locked up, any valves that happened to be open obviously stayed open at the same time. And however many spark plugs fired also lit up the fuel and air mixture inside the supercharger. That turned it into a bomb, blew the case apart, even blew the intake manifold apart. And, of course, when that happened, the bottom end went with it. That's what's left inside the internal ballistic blanket underneath the engine. This kind of destruction is complete. Let's face it, there's nothing left salvageable here. But Rhonda's not worried. They've got a new bullet in, ready for round number 2. She still has 4-second power.
And we'll see how she does when we return. Welcome back to Darlington. There's Jimmy Rector's alcohol funny car trailered in the first round by Mark Thomas. And there is Jimmy Rector in Mark Thomas's pit. Conspiring, perhaps, Thomas has Rector's arch rival, Vaughn Smith, in the next round. Stay with us for that. Now here's John Lundberg with our Precision Gear Crew of the Week. When your rear end is on the line, depend on Precision Gear.
We are in the midst of the most intense psychophysiological thrash in motorsports. The between rounds field stripping and preparation of the Top Fuel dragster. Doug Herbert, the driver, IHRA World Top Fuel champion, and crew chief Jim Brissett and all the troops are bent on that process now.
Yeah, these guys are as good as anybody there is around. All these guys have had years of experience working on these Top Fuel cars. And there's definitely a lot of work that gets done, and everybody's a team. You know, everybody has to pull together, and when one guy is starting to do a job, the other guy will reach around and grab a tool that he needs and put it in their hand. You know, it's just one of those things that everybody has to be knowing what the other guys are thinking. It's something that develops over a period of time, just like a baseball team or a football team or a basketball team or whatever. It's everybody has to be thinking along the same lines and thinking the same direction. That's the same thing as we try and do here.
So what we're literally watching is a heart transplant in Dr. Herbert's operating theater, right?
There you go. That's exactly right. With the help of Snap-on Tools, we developed our own little operating room here, so we're doing a little bit of operation right now.
The heart transplant in Doug Herbert's Top Fuel dragster continues. You've been a part of the most intense psychophysiological thrash in all of motorsports, an engine change in a Top Fuel dragster. For Precision Gear's Crew of the Week, this is John Lundberg.
All right, thank you, John. Now let's see how well the crew did their job as we get set for the semifinal action of Top Fuel. First up, Danny Dunn and Rhonda Hartman.
Bear in mind, Danny Dunn is the #1 qualifier here this week, and he laid down a solid 4-second ET. Rhonda grenades another motor. Danny Dunn goes into the finals with a 5.63.
And that was the second time those two have met this year. First time Rhonda won, this time Dunn wins. Here's a look from behind Rhonda's machine. Remember, they replaced that engine between rounds, and it let go right there.
You know, they thought they had found the problem by changing oil, and evidently that wasn't the answer.
You know, Danny Dunn actually threw his blower belt there. Rhonda Hartman really passed up an opportunity. Now here's Doug Herbert and Bruce Litton.
You know, Doug Herbert might take it a little bit easy on Bruce Litton since he stopped Shirley. No, Doug Herbert pulls it out with a 5.02. Meanwhile, down in the pro-modified pits, the intensity grows. Here's Brett Kepner.
The thrash before the semifinal round in Shannon Jenkins' pit area is intense. The new motor that just went in the car is one that has been campaigned all year long and has set low elapsed time of several events. But he's going to need every bit of power he's got against Brad Jeter. Despite the team affiliation between the two cars of Gene Fulton Racing Engines, they say it will be a drag race. Obviously, Jenkins' only hope to win the World Championship is to get past the kid that just went 6.52 seconds, and that is going to be a chore.
No question about it. We'll see what happens when we return. Scotty is already in the lanes. Welcome back to Darlington at the Snap-on Finals. There you see the pro-modified cars in the lanes. We'll get back to that action in just a moment. First, here's Brett Kepner with this edition of Drag Review.
Well, as is tradition in our final drag review of each season, it's time to announce the winners. No, not the winners of the World Championship. The winners of the annual Reaction Time Average Wars in each of the 4 professional categories. The best lever in Top Fuel Eliminator this year, the Raceline Performance Products Top Fuel driver Dave Bieneman out of the state of Michigan, who was consistently the quickest off the starting line and only slightly, I might add, better than Bruce Litton, the rookie racer out of Indianapolis. In the supercharged funny car ranks, 12 years out of the sport, didn't seem to slow down Billy Williams. The veteran Californian who moved to Cleveland and resumed his racing career in the funny car division this year was the most consistent reaction time killer, right ahead of Scott Wenny, the driver of the Sheets Firebird, who of course is always at the top of the list. In pro stock eliminators, Steve Williford out of Englehart, North Carolina had the best reaction time average, and his Chevrolet very seldom even made it into eliminations. But one thing's for sure, the brand new driver of the Roy Hill Drag Racing School, Thunderbird Richie Stevens, was quite an impressive effort in his first year of pro stock racing. In pro modified eliminator, though, the absolute hands-down reaction time winner was Mike Castellano. The New York-based driver of the Western Beef Chevy Camaro had consistently the best reaction times any time he qualified for eliminations, including the most recent event, the Fall Nationals, where he had a perfect .400 reaction time in the first round. And you'll notice that Brad Jeter, who won his first event this year, was again in the top 2. Whether or not the reaction times displayed had anything to do with the winning or losing of world championships remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, you've got to be good and practice to get better in this business. That's this edition of Drag Review.
All right, thank you, Brett. To the semifinals of Pro Modified we go. There is Scotty Cannon, who knows what he has to do, win his world championship right now. If he does, it will be his 5th. Meanwhile, over on the starting line, this is Brad Jeter in the far lane against Shannon Jenkins. You know Scotty is going to want to know the results of this battle right away.
Oh, Shannon Jenkins, a 4:25 reaction time. It's just about over right there. Here comes Brad Jeter right beside him as the engine goes away. Jeter at 6:52. Jenkins won it off the starting line, a 6:57. What an incredible driving job for Shannon Jenkins under pressure.
And now Scotty Cannon pulls into the lanes. Jenkins has left him no margin. He must go and win this race. First, let's take another look.
Shannon Jenkins, without question, had the adrenaline pumping, a 4:25 reaction time to Brad Jeter's slower 4:80. He didn't know Brad Jeter had a 6:52 in that car. Good thing he was wired into that tree, though, Bob.
And by the narrowest of margins, Shannon Jenkins keeps his championship hopes alive. Look how close it was at the finish. Brett Kepner is down at Big End to talk with him. Brett?
Ladies and gentlemen, it goes to the final. If he wins, obviously. But, man, I can't believe you pulled this off. You whole shot him. 4:25 reaction time.
Well, every now and then you get lucky, you know.
0.05 of a second at the finish line.
What was ET?
57 to his losing 52.
Gee, that's what it's all about. Somebody's looking after me.
Well, like I said, we'll see what happens here. If he wins, you know, it's all coming down to this. It's incredible. It all comes down to one run.
We kind of figured it, so that's why we're going to play it.
See what happens.
And so once again, all the pressure shifts to the driver of this car, the killer Red Demeter. Shannon Jenkins and crew will look on with a certain vested interest. And now what's this? Captain America is out of the fight. Louis Burris has a problem. Scotty Cannon will make a solo pass.
Scotty Cannon picks up the points for this round and will move into the final and does it in style. 6:44, 215 miles per hour. And is that crew jubilant or what?
New record, man! Love it!
Gee, I think Scotty's excited about this.
That's the most excited we've seen Scotty all season. Meanwhile, a dejected Louis Burris, Captain America, pushing back. Let's go for a ride inside Scotty Cannon's 1963 Corvette on a 6:44 pass.
Is that it?
That did back up the record. 6:44.
Gotta love it. Come to the wire, baby. I love it. I love you, fans. This is from my little boy, Destin. Brand new. Look here. First time he's rode with me. Ain't done bad since. My boy. Thank you.
Now, I'm going to check something. I got my little cheat sheet here. With 100 extra points for the record.
I could lose next round, but I won championship. 700, 200, right?
Well, I'm looking here. It looks like if you lose in the final with an extra 100 points.
By 50 points.
Yes, I think so.
1 point's good as a million.
I think he is world champion.
He is, in fact, the world champion, and you know there was never a doubt in his crew's mind. Congratulations, Scotty. Now we move over to the Pro Stock semifinals. World champion John Yoke up against future world champion, you can bet, Richie Stevens.
Stevens with a 4:65 reaction time has Yoke in trouble, leads him wire to wire. 6:75, and the Roy Hill crew is elated with that as Richie Stevens goes into his second final in his rookie year, from a junior dragster to a 200-mile-per-hour pro stocker.
Amazing. Now the other half of the draw. Ed McKaychick against Robert Patrick.
Boy, this could be a war. Robert Patrick, the number 2 qualifier, but Mahaychik is up beside him. What's going on here? Wow, what a top-end charge for Ed Mahaychik. Patrick had him with a 486 off the starting line. Mahaychik a 675 to a 681.
Let's take a deep breath with the Race Mechanic, presented by Holly, the Performance Edge. Here's Ted Jones and Roy Hill.
Bob, this week on the Race Mechanic, we noticed some wires on these shifter mechanisms, this Hurst shifter on this Lenco transmission, and we wondered where they go to some switches up here. What is this transmission partially electrically shifted, Roy?
No, it's all manually shifted, Ted. But what the wiring is this is a line lock switch, which goes to the line lock that holds the front tires from rolling.
Now, why do you want to hold the front tires from rolling when you're on the starting line?
Well, as we roll in the first beam, we set the line lock and go down with the motor. We rev the motor sometimes as much as 8,000 RPMs. When that happens, it tries to take off, and we don't want that to happen.
Because if you took off,
we'd red light.
Can't do that. Jimmy Rector awaits his fate. We'll be back.
Are you ready for more?
3 championships have been decided. 1 remains here at the Snap-on Finals. Bob Barsha, Ted Jones with you. In the near lane, Jim Lape. In our alcohol funny car semifinals in the far lane, Merle Littlefield, who's been a bit of a spoiler of late.
This is the number 2 and 3 qualifiers. Jim Lape with a 4:44 reaction time. A 6:07 beats a quicker 6:06.
And now for the championship. If Von Smith wins this race against Mark Thomas, it's his title. Thomas will try to knock him off.
Go ahead, Mark.
Go get him, Mark, says Jimmy Rector. If Thomas wins, Rector is the world champion.
That's because Von Smith can do runner-up at worst, and a red light start for Mark Thomas. Unbelievable. When the pressure was on, Jimmy Rector sees the red light, walks away dejectedly, had a great season going up until Norwalk, Ohio, when his world fell apart. Now the impossible has happened.
Jimmy Rector congratulating Von Smith's crew.
What a great gesture of sportsmanship. He has to be greatly disappointed as we look at the World Championship run. One more time, it was close at the finish line in spite of the red light.
The only car that matters is the one in the near lane, Von Smith. And once again, a championship celebration from a very happy crew. Let's get down to Brett with the champ.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the ultimate come-from-behind World Championship win. Beating a man who had been in 7 finals in the next-to-last round of the year. You are the world champion in this category, buddy.
Thank God. I mean, this is wonderful, Brad. I know I'm going to start one of my emotion things. And I don't mean it.
Do you think anybody would blame you?
I'm so happy. I mean, for everybody. I mean, you know, God, like I said, my father, he helps more than anybody. Howard Moon and everybody on the crew. I mean, everybody's busting their butt between rounds. I'm elated. I'm so happy.
As he should be. Finals coming up next. Welcome back to Darlington. The finals are just a moment away. Earlier today, Ted Jones spoke with our hosts from Snap-on.
Bob, down in the pit area of IHRA defending Top Fuel World Champion Doug Herbert. Doug, the sponsorship from Snap-on Tool means a lot to your operation.
Oh, it sure does to have Snap-on, you know, to be the major flagship for the Snap-on racing, drag racing program means a lot to us, and we're out here doing the best we can to defend our championship and send a good message for Snap-on.
A lot of pressure this weekend, though, because you have a special guest here. This is Carl Johansson, who is the Director of Motorsports Marketing for Snap-on. Carl, it costs a lot. When you decided to sponsor a car, you went all the way up to the top Fuel.
Yeah, we did. We went with the top team and Top Fuel, Doug Herbert. We're proud of all the races here this weekend, and Doug has done an excellent job as a focus for our efforts, and he's been a great ambassador not only for Snap-on, the IHRA, but for the sport as well.
Well, also this weekend, Snap-on has backed up that confidence by increasing next year's prize purse to $400,000. Now, in the finals of Top Fuel, a solo pass for Doug Herbert. Not exactly the way he would have liked to end this championship. Danny Dunn could not answer the bell. And Doug Herbert cruises to the winner's circle.
Well, he'll take the money either way, even though he slows to 95 miles per hour. Maybe Pro Modified will be more exciting.
Oh, you bet. Shannon Jenkins, newly discouraged by Scotty Cannon, who picked up the world championship. Will Jenkins lay down in the final? I don't think so.
Shannon off the line first, a 426 reaction, but look at that top-end charge for Scotty Cannon, and look at that ET. 645, he's truly a world champion.
Shannon Jenkins, a 653. Congratulations to Scotty. To the Pro Stock final, Richie Stevens and Ed Machacek.
Richie Stevens' problems off the starting line, a foul start for one. Ed Machacek will pick up the Snap-on Finals money with a 674, 203 miles per hour.
And now our Alcohol Funny Car final, featuring newly crowned world champion Von Smith against Jim Lape.
All he had to do was be the runner-up, but he'll take the victory if he can get it over Jim Lape. It'll make it that much sweeter, and he does it. Von Smith, a 599, 234 miles per hour. What a way to win the championship with real style.
We'll be back to wrap things up.
In the game of politics,
world champions.
And some surprise winners indeed, especially John Yoke and Von Smith with come-behind victories. Unbelievable season, Bob.
It's been a great year, and we thank you for being with us every pass of the way. Our Speed World coverage of the Snap-on Finals has been brought to you by Meguiar's Car Care Products. Meguiar's, for that brilliant finish. What do you know? My voice made it to the end of the season. I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. See you in Darlington in 1997. So long, everyone.